Okay, we are starting the class. Let's listen to Mr. Dixon to tell us more about this topic, Immanuel Kant, linking it to theory of conflict, peace, and security. Okay, we are starting. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, our professor, Professor Michael Kalfo, and then good morning, good afternoon, rather, my fellow my fellow students in the class. My name is Dixon, and today I am here to make an attempt on one of the philosophers, Immanuel Kant, and to talk about his link to theory of conflict, peace, and security, a philosophical foundation to liberal internationalism. And so let's go straight to my abstract. So this presentation on Immanuel Kant aims to examine Kant's contribution to peace and security theory, focusing on perpetual peace, which he wrote in 1795. It highlights foundations for liberal internationalism, democratic peace theory, and human security. His biography. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in Western philosophy. Born on 22nd April 1724 in Kosenberg, East Prussia, now Kaliningrad in Russia, Kant spent his entire life in his hometown, where he studied and later taught at the University of Königsberg. Kant's philosophical revolution, known as Copernican turn, transformed metaphysics and epistemology by arguing that human understanding structures experience rather than merely receiving it. His seminal work, Critique of Pure Reason, in 1781 established a critical framework that shaped modern philosophy. Still on the biography, his political and moral philosophy. In political and moral philosophy, Kant is best known for his idea on categorical imperatives, autonomy, and universal moral law. His 1975 his 1795 essay, Perpetual Peace, a philosophical sketch, laid the groundwork for liberal theories of international relation and peace studies, advocating for republican government, international federation, and cosmopolitan rights. Kant passed away on 12th February 1804. His legacy endured through his influence on ethics, political theories, epistemology, and international relations, particularly through Enlightenment ideas of reasons, individual rights, and moral progress. Yeah, I talked about his idea of on Copernican turn. So Copernican turn, to bring it in context, refers to a profound shift in perspective, originally stemming from Nicolaus Copernicus, 16th century heliocentric model, which displaced Earth from the center of the universe. This idea symbolizes a move from the human-centered to a more objective worldview, and has since been applied metaphorically across disciplines. In philosophy, Kant used the term to describe his epistemological revolution in the Critique of Pure Reason, 1781, where he proposed that our understanding of objects is shaped by the mind's inherent structure rather than the objects themselves. More broadly, the term now denotes any radical reorientation in thought, whether in science, philosophy, or social theory, that fundamentally alters how reality is conceptualized. Now to the introduction. Kant from 1724 to 1804 when he died proposed a moral framework for perpetual peace through reasons, republicanism, and universal rights. His ideas influenced liberal internationalism and global governance. Human nature and conflict. Kant has it that humans are self-interested, leading to conflict. Unlike Hobbes, Kant believed in practical reasons and moral progress, allowing peace through law and institution. Perpetual peace, which is one of the things I mentioned. So Kant's framework and for talking about internationalism, modern liberalism. So he summed up his work um, with a framework which includes 6 preliminary articles to prevent war and 3 definitive articles to institutionalize peace, aimed at transforming both domestic and international politics. So if we don't understand anything majorly on the work of Kant, I want to actually emphasize this place because the next slide will be explaining how he actually tried to explain these articles to suit modern internationalism and diplomacy. Here again, I say Kant's framework in trying to explain perpetual peace. Yeah, he propounded or he produced or gave out these articles, which include 6 preliminary articles to prevent war and 3 definitive articles to institutionalize peace, aimed at transforming both domestic and international politics. So, going forward, first of all, talking about his perpetual peace. Immanuel Kant's Perpetual Peace presents a detailed blueprint in lasting global peace, grounded in both philosophical and political principles. Divided into 2 main parts, preliminary articles, which sets immediate condition to prevent war, and definitive article, which establish enduring foundation for peace. Because from his view, if there is peace, there might not be need for war. The essay calls for measures such as abolishing standing armies, banning secret treaties, promoting republican constitution, forming a federation of free states, and upholding universal hospitality. By prioritizing reasons, law, and moral duties over power and conquest, Kant envisions a stable international, that's cosmopolitan world order or international order built on cooperation, democracy, and respect for human rights. So these are the preliminary articles that Kant has for war and peace, international relation. So the preliminary articles include no secret treaties, no standing armies, no war debt financing, no interference in internal affairs, ethical war conduct, no forcible regime. I will be explaining this in subsequent slides. So the preliminary articles, the hints, because it's actually lots of volume, but I tried to actually give quick pointers, trying to explain it instead of just leaving them at the initial bullet point. So The outline preliminary articles/principle aim at promoting peace, international relation, and ethical warfare. Number one is no secret treaties. Here he said international agreement should be transparent to prevent hidden alliances and mistrust. Number two, no standing armies. Permanent military forces should be reduced or eliminated to lower the risk of war. Because here it is assumed or believed that you need armies to go to war. So when you don't have standing armies, so you should think of an alternative way to live than to push them to war by putting them to work. No war debt financing. Nations should not fund wars through borrowing, which can lead to prolonged conflict and economic instabilities. Nations should not fund wars through borrowing, which can lead to prolonged conflict and economic instabilities. In this place, this line, it tried to explain that if nations should just consider no war debt financing, you don't need to borrow to fight war. So you can easily think about alternative to war, which is peace. And when there is peace, you don't need to borrow. And when you don't borrow, you don't have future debts to pay or living debt for your children. Like we see in some of the countries already going into alliances. And then one of the big countries now is one of the countries we know in war now. It's now giving out its or part of its mineral resources to the US. All this now is some of the things that war could bring. Who knows how long? I stand to be corrected, by the way. Who knows how long that debt or that agreement will take toll on the country? And like that, let me go further. No interference in internal affairs. States should respect each other. Sovereignty and states should respect each other's sovereignty and avoid meddling in domestic politics. This is actually very well seen where we are in the Southeast Asia. States respecting each other's, whatever they do within their own country walls, whatever they do within their country, they are allowed to stay without those obvious interferences. We could see that even with Myanmar and then the neighboring Southeastern countries like that. So this takes us to the next one, ethical war conduct. Warfare, if it occur, must adhere to humanitarian and legal norms to limit sufferings. So he's in this at this point, when we talk about conflict, at the end of it all, we either have conflict resolution or conflict management. So at this number 5, my understanding here is that if war is not really, it doesn't come to a point of resolution or prevented, then it must be managed. That warfare that there must be rule of engagement. That warfare, if it must occur, must adhere to humanitarian and legal norms to limit suffering. So the last one here in the preliminary hints articles said no forcible regime change. Government should not be overthrown by external force. Political change must come from within. So this is Kant talking about how government must be changed, how regime must be changed. It must not be from external force, like another country trying to force another country into changing its leadership. They say such change, political change, must come from within. So ethical warfare, that's number 5 where I mentioned. I try to touch on it a little so that we will have a better understanding of what he means by ethical warfare. So he said here, ethical warfare refers to the conduct of war in accordance with moral principles and international legal standard that aim to limit unnecessary and international legal standard that aim to, ethical warfare refers to conduct of war in accordance with moral principle and international legal standard that aim to limit unnecessary suffering and protect human dignity, even in armed conflict. It is guided by key concepts such as just war theory, distinction, proportionality, military necessity, humane treatment. You know, talking about just war theory, I think we touched a little about on it from the last presenter. Um, that is, war must have a just cause. It must have a just cause, be declared by legitimate authorities, and be a last resort. That there must be a just reason for war and it must be a last resort. Distinction. Combatant must distinguish between military targets and civilian targets. This will help to reduce what they call collateral damage sometimes in war. Proportionality. The force used must be proportionate to military objective. Yeah, proportionality. So humane treatment. Prisoners of war, the wounded, and civilians must be treated with respect and care. This is still talking about ethical warfare. That's if warfare actually have to be ethical. These principles are codified in law, such as the Geneva Convention, and reflect the idea that even during war, there are morals and legal boundaries that must not be crossed. This is trying to show us the link of these philosophers, who some of us now might refer to ancient philosophers, that their works, their contribution is still linked to modern day practice. So you see, this one is even codified in laws such as Geneva Convention. Going forward, so that is about it with the 6 preliminary articles. So the definitive articles here talked about republican constitutions, federation of free states, not world government, universal hospitality, and cosmopolitan rights. So next slide. The definitive articles in brief. These 3 principles reflect Immanuel Kant's vision for perpetual peace, as outlined in his 1975 essay, Perpetual Peace, a Philosophical Sketch. So, Republican Constitution, as one of it, said states should be governed by law and representatives by law and representative institutions that ensures freedom, equality, and the rule of law, making them less likely to wage war. Republican Constitution, I come again. States should be governed by laws and representative institutions that ensures freedom, equality, and the rule of law, making them less likely to wage war. Federation of Free States, not world government, a voluntary league of independent nations committed to peace and mutual respect rather than a centralized global authority. Universal hospitality and cosmopolitan law. All individuals, as citizens of a shared world, have a right to be treated with dignity and respect when visiting other countries. So I take this one again. Universal hospitality and cosmopolitan rights. All individuals, as citizens of a shared world, have the right to be treated with dignity and respect when visiting other countries. Remember, Kant is also one philosopher who upheld diplomacy and internationalism very well. So here, in diplomacy and his thoughts of internationalism, is that even as individual from your country, when you go to another country, you have the right to be treated with respect. These ideas laid the groundwork for modern international norms, such as human rights, democratic peace theory, and the United Nations. That is linking his work to the modern day practice. So, Immanuel Kant's work is still very relevant and valid. Kant's principles have have significantly influenced modern international institutions and norms. So, Republican Constitution, this is throwing a bigger explanation to show us where the links and where the influence affect. Republican Constitution underpins the democratic peace theory, which observes that democracies rarely goes to war with one another. This idea supports global effort to promote democracy, such as through the United Nations, UN, and international development programs. A federation of free states, though not a world government, is reflected in the UN system, especially in the UN Charter, which encourages peaceful resolution of disputes, respect for sovereignty, and collective security through cooperation rather than domination. Universal hospitality and cosmopolitan rights are echoed in international human rights law, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, and the word of the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and International Criminal Court, ICC, which aim to protect individuals regardless of nationality. Together, these principles form the philosophical foundation of a rule-based international order, promoting peace, justice, and global cooperation. Kant and liberal internationalism inspired democratic peace theory by Doyle. Democracies avoid war with each other, support democratic promotion, and cooperative international institution. Cosmopolitan and human security. Security must protect individual rights, not just state, align with human security, global governance, and responsibility to protect. Critical reflection. Some of, some of the challenges of Kant's ideas include nationalism, authoritarianism, weak institution. Yet, Kant called for reason, cooperation, and solidarity. Yet, Kant's call for reason, cooperation, and solidarity remains urgent. Remarkable quote by Kant, reflecting his philosophical contribution to ethics, reasons, and peace. Okay. So, reflecting his philosophical contribution to ethics, reasons, and peace, providing context and interpretation. So, the next slide. Yeah. So, I was talking about remarkable quotes by Immanuel Kant, reflecting his philosophical contribution to ethics, reasons, and peace, and providing context and interpretation. On morality, uh, one of his number one quote on morality says, "Act only according to the maxim you can, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. Act only according to maxim whereby you can and at the same time will that it would become a universal law." Groundwork of the metaphysics of moral. The explanation here says, this is the foundation of Kant's categorical imperative. He argues that we should only act according to rules. According to rules, we would want everyone else to follow universally. It promotes moral consistency and universal ethics. Two things will fill the mind with ever new and increasing admiration and awe: the starry heaven above me and the moral law within me. Critics and practical reason. Explanation. Say Kant reflects on the awe-inspiring nature of the universe and the inner sense of morality in human. He considers both to be deeply rational and beautiful aspect of existence, pointing to a rational moral order in the world. The next quote, he said, "In law, a man is guilty when he violates the right of others. In ethics, he is guilty if he only thinks of doing so." Explanation. This highlights the difference between legal and moral responsibility. Legally, wrongdoing requires action. Ethically, even intending harm can be blameworthy because morality governs our thoughts as well as our actions. On peace and international relations, the only condition under which, this is still talking about Immanuel Kant's quote, that is reflective on internationalism and diplomacy generally, peace and conflict. So on peace and international relation, the only condition under which freedom of a people is possible is that they remain united under a lawful constitution. I'll take this again. The only condition under which freedom of a people is possible is that they remain united under a lawful constitution. This is from his work, Perpetual Peace. The explanation: Kant stresses the importance of constitutional government in securing liberty. He believed that freedom must operate under the rule of law to avoid chaos and protect rights. So this is talking about the need for constitution, and then as it leads to peace, and as it leads to as he referred to it as a condition under which freedom of the people is possible. So, and with this freedom comes peace, and then avoidance of war. The next one, he said, a perpetual peace is not an empty idea, but a task that gradually solves, comes ever closer to fulfillment. A perpetual peace is not an empty idea, but a task that gradually solves, come ever closer to fulfillment. Sometimes they use their old time English, but the explanation will do us justice here. So Kant acknowledges that eternal peace may seem idealistic, but insists that it is realistic. It is a realistic goal we must strive towards through international cooperation, republican governance, and legal structure. On reason, his quotes on reason and enlightenment. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. Explanation: Kant defines enlightenment as the courage to use one's own reason instead of relying on others to think for us. Immaturity, in his view, is when we follow authority blindly rather than thinking independently. From his work, What is Enlightenment? In 1784. There's another one. This one is, they call this sapere aude. This should be a Latin word.
Yep.
So sapere aude, have courage to use your own understanding. The explanation here says, the Latin phrase meaning dare to know, that's sapere aude. Forgive the way I sounded. Because this say dare to know became the motto of the Enlightenment. Kant calls individuals to intellectual autonomy, to think critically and independently. And this is coming from his work, What is Enlightenment? So his other quote from Human Dignity and Autonomy, he says, so act that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of another, always at the same time as an end, never merely as a means. From his work, Groundwork of Metaphysics of Morals. The explanation here says, this is another principle of the categorical imperative, requiring us to respect each person's instructive worth. We should never exploit others for personal gains, but instead treat them with dignity and respect. So the next one, freedom is the precondition for the moral law. The explanation: Kant asserts that for individuals to be morally accountable, they must be free to choose. Without freedom, moral responsibility and ethical judgment would be impossible. This is actually loaded, and trying to get into the summary. Immanuel Kant's theory of conflict, peace, security offers a profound moral and philosophical framework, as we have seen from the slides, for addressing perennial problems of war, grounded in reasons, laws, and cosmopolitan ethics. His vision continues to inform liberal theories for international relations, peace building, and human security. While practical implementation remains complex, Kant's idea challenge both policymakers and scholars to pursue a world where peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice. So, the conclusion here. Kant's vision urges a shift from war. Remember where we had where he talked about shifting from what is the generally known thing, a major shift. So his vision urges a shift from war-prone politics to a just global order. Peace is not just absence of war, but the presence of justice. So this is talking about Kant generally from the beginning. He's trying to be someone that have the school of thought of peace, to the extent that he has gone to the level where he talked about perpetual peace. And he told us that perpetual peace is not just an empty idea, that is something that is still achievable, that is something that, if pursued properly, it can be achieved, given if everyone puts in work and work towards it. Then the company can turn, which refers to a profound shift from the perspective originally stemming from Nicholas, the idea that symbolizes a move from human-centered to a more objective worldview, and has since been applied metaphorically. So generally, here, Kant can be referred to, from my own understanding, as a champion of peace. And he even talked about where war must occur, it must be ethical warfare must be applied. But generally, Kant has urged that peace is not just the absence of war, but the presence of justice, as he urges a shift from war-prone politics to just war order. Thank you very much. I also have my references below. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Something struck me when Mr. Dixon is giving us the lecture. And what struck me is this, if I'm not mistaken. Why do some of us go to school and come out empty without reflecting the school they attended? Because I don't understand. Maybe because I'm not a candidate to that. Why do some of us here, you went to a university, you studied and got a degree, but when you act, when you behave in terms of official aspect, it doesn't reflect. But I still see that, not that it doesn't reflect because you don't have the capacity, because I noticed as a teacher, man, of course, this is my 20-something years of lecturing. I noticed that most of those who demonstrate that they are empty, talk too much, gossip too much. It's my observation, it's not yours, because I'm a teacher. So can somebody help me? Why? You have a degree, and if you point this person, sometimes he looks for someone to blame. He doesn't blame the government, he blames the parents, he blames the hardship or whatever. But yet, you'll be able to come out with a degree. Can somebody satisfy this, my curiosity? Any answer? I said, why some of us came up with a degree? We are graduates, but we don't reflect it even when we behave, we act, and we try to do academic work. Let me limit it to academic work. So in a short way. So
I think, in my little understanding, first, there is an adage that says, allow school to pass through you first. Allowing school to pass through you is allowing the integral formation structure down, laid down in the school. There is a particular formation that is school structured that will guide the students. So if you were not able to allow that very particular formation to grow inside you, it may your attitude in the society may not be reflecting alongside of the school you studied. That is my own knowledge.
okay, wonderful. Anybody, any other thing to add? Chine, did you have anything to add? You have a degree, but then, unfortunately, in academic follow-up, because most of you are in a master's level now, you see the way the person does his academic work, like a primary school person or secondary school, instead of a graduate. Do you have anything to
No,
say about that? Why?
one thing is having a degree,
Mhm.
and another thing is
Why does it happen?
why does it happen? Okay, well, another thing is not being able to defend that degree.
Why? Why is that?
Why is like that? Most of us, most of us don't really pay attention to certain things which we're supposed to pay attention.
Is that
Instead,
correct?
yeah, instead we'll allow what we're supposed to do and be doing another thing. So I think
But is that a
that's the
correct
cause.
behavior?
No, it's not an ideal stuff.
Okay, madam, do you have anything to say?
In this aspect, I will say that nature also contributes, and this type of
Which kind of nature? What do you mean by nature?
nature, I mean the environment. For example,
You are living it on environment or individual.
environment can affect individual.
To have a
For
degree,
example,
to have a degree, but the individual talks too much because it's too much.
I know
And the
this
individual is a
issue.
mature person.
This issue is maybe limited to Africans.
No.
Generalize it.
General. Okay. It depends on the school you go. If your school are the school that is very interested on how you organize
Okay,
your
if the school is not
academic
good, how about you, mature
this thing.
person that have come to degree?
What you learn from the school, you grow with it.
Yeah, but you're a mature person to take off from somewhere, knowing that the school didn't give you the best.
Maybe when you grow up, some of the circumstances ahead might even reshape your mindset not to even pay interest on this, on the
So most of
academic
you
work.
blame the school or you because you're mature. You're not a kid.
Blaming someone is maybe
And
if
yet
we
the same person talks too
partly
much and then moves around and when he talks as if he's the owner of the world. He gossips too much too. Because it's not that the person is sane. The person is sane. It's normal. But just that he has not been showing what he learned, what the parents sent him, or he sent himself and came up with a degree.
For what you just said now, I think we should blame the school and the person.
Continue, please. Because you know,
Why
the
the
problem we
people?
have is we are stuck in ignorance. And most times we don't want to get out of it because of our own coordinated ignorance. Okay,
Why the people after they graduate as a master degree,
that's a first degree, but
they don't show it?
in a subsequent academic
Then
goals.
maybe it's because of the capacity, capacity they have.
So their
Uh,
capacity is low.
yeah, or maybe even they are capacited, but they don't internalize the knowledge. They don't practice the
Wonderful.
knowledge.
Do you have anything to say?
Okay, from the narrative you brought to us,
I don't have anything to ask.
is I think to say like is because uh,
Do you
the
still remember the question?
yeah, the question is
Or you answered it after I
okay.
said, let's move on. I just
in
just
in the world, everyone has his own way of living life,
no, this is not about the way we're doing it.
and yes, you might come to school. Not no, not everyone sent to school come with a first degree or second degree.
No, we're not talking about degree, whether first or second.
So you will try your best and do as you can. So you can
But the question is, why is it that some people come out without demonstrating that in the further academic, as if they have finished this one?
uh, or maybe they are not able to they don't have the capacity to express themselves or to
Okay, so the problem is because they don't have the capacity. Let's leave it at that. Thank you, sir. Okay.
Okay, so to my own observation to this your questions, I realized and understood that many of our mainly Nigerian students here are having dividing mind. That is, their mind is not focused on the study. That is
Focus on gossip.
no. I'm coming,
Because the
sir.
content of my question that
Yeah.
people in question talk too much,
Yeah.
gossip a lot.
I'm coming, sir. The reason is that many of us here are not studying to become a lecturer tomorrow or professor. So they have another things out there they are doing. So to focus on that education, they find it difficult. That is why sometimes you might teach after teaching a class, then in next class, many will forget what you taught in the class last time because the mind is not there. They are having dividing mind. They don't focus. So I thought that might be one of the reasons
I
why.
think for me, you're correct. Mr. Dixon, did you graduate in Nigeria?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Only in Nigeria.
Yes, everything.
And then Chinedu, you graduated in Nigeria. Immanuel Ngoz, you graduated in Thailand. Okay. Kinsley graduated in Thailand. Emmanuel Obi graduated in Nigeria. You graduated in Indonesia. Uh-huh. You know, because why I'm asking is because when I give an assignment as a teacher to do presentation, so when somebody does exceptionally very good, I try to check why, unlike the other person. Because one of the things I try to do by myself is self-deception. Someone deceiving himself is just the greatest insult you can give to yourself. That's what I think. Because if I'm a graduate, I should reflect it wherever I find myself, in any classwork given to me. You see, it's very, very important. Because if when we behave like that, in my own view, then probably when we started the class, when we talk about recycling poverty, it may be a solution. Because the way you represent yourself in this class now might give me impression, might give another person impression from Indonesia, from America, or whatever, the kind of what you can do. And job might come. Somebody might just say, I have this classmate who is exceptional. Because my pain, not pain, my concern is that if you say, it's not that the person doesn't talk, it's not that the person doesn't express himself, but expressing himself in another dimension. And yet he claims to be a graduate. But simple class presentation, he could not plan it very well. you cannot do it very well. And whenever you see where this person talks, you can never believe it's the same person that cannot even do classwork very well. That is the angle I'm going. So, of course, I know some of us are here for visa in order to make money, in order to do something else. But you can still, so long as you have given yourself that challenge, that you are here for visa and you are here for economic empowerment, you have already assigned it. Then why not give extraordinary effort not to showcase that lack on the other side? The same time you spend in talking about people, or the same time you spend in talking about anybody you want to dismantle or whatever. I think that is where I am concerned about. So anyway, why this one touched me, because I saw this presentation as a standard. Maybe because I read a lot about Immanuel Kant. I know much about Immanuel Kant. In fact, in the Assumption University, something happened in 2005. You know what that happened? In our class, this Assumption University, in moral philosophy, we took an exam, and the German lecturer took my paper and was moving for almost every lecturer, and gave the lecturer the paper to remark this paper for him. And we know the reason. Because the German lecturer, who has been very strict, after marking on my paper, he scored me 100 over 100. And he couldn't understand why, even himself, that this is the first time he did it in his own academic life. Because he cannot imagine the logic and the way I handled my paper. And that was about Immanuel Kant anyway. That's why I'm bringing it up. So, what I'm trying to say in earnest is that everything he said, just like a very wonderful way of presenting almost everything about Immanuel Kant. And thank God that I gave you this topic, because it's about diplomacy. I thought about it. Are you there? Anyway, as a teacher, I can only play my part. It's up to you. I strongly recommend, as you're sitting here, you may, in case if you have that recycling mentality, be aware that it's possible that life, you can locate what you are looking for, even in the class work, the way you present it, the way you do it, can locate that thing you are looking for in life. The way you present yourself among your classmates and students. It's possible. So, but otherwise, you cannot still be embracing the difficulties you had when you studied, or difficulties your parents had when you were studying, and difficulties of you faced while in the country when you are studying, because you just want to remain in that negative world. But you can still, as you are today, ask yourself, how many hours do you sleep? How many times do you give to your studies? Because what you are looking, an Igbo adage said it, your behavior in the classroom and the way you handle things among the classmates, frankly speaking, might give you what you are looking for. So that is why recycling poverty mentality is very dangerous. And that's when I started this class with. I knew we will land with Immanuel Kant. He said, do something for the sake or to the sake of what it is. That which nothing can prevent. Anybody that sees it will know that it's the same thing and the same good. So if you have a degree is degree. So, and even after this class, most of you have said the same mentality. Thinking that this thing you are spending time to come here is nothing. Thinking that your friendship with someone is nothing. Thinking that even the way you behave where you are living is nothing. Thinking that your relationship with any student here is nothing. Come on. Life can hit you at any time, at any place. It just depends on you. That is what I want to present to you. So now let's ask questions to the presenter. I just don't want to miss this point. That's why I brought it up as a challenge to some of you, if you want. Then if you don't want, sometimes I told you, I didn't come here. I came here like all of you. And today you are sitting in my class as a professor, calling me professor. I want all of you to reach that level and pass it as well. whether you are actually having a student visa just for the sake of getting the visa or not. So long as you have started, you can still constructively make it what it should be all the time. Heaven will not fall. If here we have Dr. Chinedu, Dr. Mangozi, Dr. Emmanuel Obi, Dr. Kinsel, Dr. Gosley, and Dr. Sepi, and Dr. Dixon, heaven will not fall. Heaven will not fall. And even if you have it, throw it away and continue your business, but you have it. Anyway, questions to Mr. Dixon. Questions about Immanuel Kant. Let's start with Xavier. Okay.
On the existing project, think about it. You think
Question.
you said it.
Question.
Yeah.
My question is this, because I'm been battling with this concept, perpetual peace, which I think means everlasting peace. So the question is this: with everything that has been laid down, both the rules of engagement and warfare stages, and the United Nations as well adapted the process, do we still have a perpetual peace in the global world today?
Okay, over to you. Do we still have perpetual peace?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, even when I was doing this work, I asked myself this same question. So thank you. And it's a very, very valid question to say, if I'm to talk about the question itself. So, the word, yeah, dissecting into word by word. Yes, perpetual, something that is almost like endless. I'm trying to get to a slide where it talked about a work in progress, something that goes, that's like you're moving towards it. Yes, I've just gotten it. If you can get to the slide where he has his quotation on peace and international relation. It's a number 5 there, not here. Keep going down. Keep going. Let's see, on peace and international relations, still down. Yes, we're going there, number 5. Okay, here. So, on peace and international relations, he said, a perpetual peace is not an empty idea, but a task that gradually sought come ever closer to fulfillment. Okay, Kant's knowledge for eternal peace may seem idealistic, but insists it is a realistic goal we must strive towards through international cooperation, republican governance, and legal structure. So, because I am actually presenting his study, I didn't just want to jump out and start giving you my idea of the answer first, but I have to refer to the man whose work I explored first. Then we can take it to the wider world. Don't forget, the same study have told us in this class on enlightenment, which is very, very interesting too. He said, enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity. And then he also uses sapre how they say, have courage to use your own understanding. Yes, so having referred to him now, we might have to go now to his own area and then to the question he asked. If there was ever perpetual peace, there wouldn't be conflict ever in the world. And then, even from time immemorial, from time we don't even know, from history, there's always been conflict up to the present age. So because there is conflict, that's why these people have done their work and kept for us from their own time till today. And he used the word strive. And he said it's not an empty idea. So it can be a work in progress that we do towards perpetual peace. Like the perpetual peace itself, the concept of perpetual peace here is a title of a book he wrote. And he titled it Perpetual Peace and trying to get the year. 17, okay, generally, they say Kant from 1724 to 1804 proposed a moral framework for perpetual peace. So he used the book to propose moral framework towards achieving perpetual peace. He did not state that perpetual peace is already here. That's why he said thrive. And that's why he said work towards it. Yeah, so we're actually expecting that it's a work in progress that we go towards. So generally, to answer your question, even peace is not even there, let alone the perpetual peace. Hence, he has given us 6 preliminaries articles that will help towards peace. And he also gave us 3, after the preliminary, he now gives us 3 definitive articles for the peace. Maybe I should just read out again. The 6 preliminaries say, if there are no secret treaties, if there is no standing armies, because once you employ someone, you have to give him work. So if you keep standing army, army have to go and fight. So that means, then number 3 is say, no war debt financing. If you know that there's no place, that if you know there's no place, you will go and get your funding for war. Someone that is bankrolling you and say, fight, will give you weapon, will give you. So there will be no war. That's on the preliminary. You say no interference in internal affairs. If, as what prof is doing in his class, no other professor walks in to say, you're not doing this well, there will not be fight. So next one, ethical war conduct. If even when there must be war, it is done ethically, that there are rules of engagement. Even that ending of that war will not lead to another war. So that will also bring peace after the conflict management and resolution, as the case may be. So no forcible regime change. If there are no, that's in one of the slides, I think if we go upwards, if there is no forcible regime change, imagine another country moving into like Nigeria and forcibly say, remove Tinubu and put Obi for me, Emmanuel Obi, to be precise. So that means the other country is now lording over a country. So there won't be peace. So after his preliminaries, he also went to definitive to say, talking about where he talked about constitution, federation, and the universal hospitality. From the constitution, he specifically said, let's say, 3 principles reflect Immanuel Kant's vision for perpetual peace. So he says it's his vision for perpetual peace. If we can get to that slide, I still upwards. Yes, here. Okay, no, the next one up. Okay, here. So it's these 3 definitive principles reflect Immanuel Kant's vision for perpetual peace. It's a vision. That's what he wrote in his book. As outlined in his 1795 essay, Perpetual Peace, a philosophical sketch. He says, Republican Constitution, he says, states should be governed by laws and representative institutions that ensures freedom, equality, and the rule of law, making them less likely to wage war. So these are his contributions, his ideas of things that will lead us to perpetual peace, knowing that there is no peace yet. Then the next one is a federation of peace, a federation of free states, not world order. Imagine where we have the entire world. They say, if something happened in Nigeria, for instance, then there will just be one powerful people that stays at the center and say, we have power over the world. We hereby decree that this is what must happen. So Nigeria must do this way and that way. So there will be disgruntlement and there will be problems. So here it says, a voluntary league of independent nations committed to peace and mutual respect is better rather than a centralized global authority where they will say, oh, there is a big five to do a veto over every other person. So whatever you do today, we cancel it. That's why the world now, even with United Nations, even with ICC and ICJ, Russia and Ukraine fights, the best they can get is, oh, we now declare sanction. They will now say, oh, let's declare war. Everybody on your way to Ukraine and Russia, let's go and dismantle them. No, they can only declare sanctions. Even in Myanmar. What about every other people coming up now? So the next one, universal hospitality. If you accept me and I accept you, if you respect me, I respect you in return. Talking about where they say universal hospitality and cosmopolitan rights. All individuals are citizens of a shared world. We accept individuals, we accept each other as fellow human beings in this same world. So we are sharing the world. Then have the right, knowing that we have the right to be treated with dignity and respect when visiting other countries. When a foreigner visits Nigeria, oh, Onyacha, and you give relevant respect. And then you also visit another man's country and they welcome you and say, oh, welcome to the United States of XYZ, or welcome to the kingdom of XYZ, with all due respect. And then you too, knowing that respect in turn, you also must respect their rule of law, because Kant also highlighted law very importantly. So if give and take, everyone gives this respect accordingly. These ideas will lay groundwork for modern international norms such as human rights, democracy, peace theory, and the United Nations. Every other thing follows. So Kant did not say there is peace. That's why he is giving us his own contribution of things that might be done or things that can be adopted towards the achievement of peace and subsequently and consequently perpetual peace, because he knows that at the moment there is no peace, not even the perpetual peace. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so about Kant or about.
Let him bring it.
I hope you are listening in relation to Kant.
Yes.
Okay, because he's not Kant.
Yes.
No, if you present, you are going to defend your presentation. Okay. Thanks for your contributions on the answers. It's very wonderful. But within, because with what I saw here, it's stated that striving to achieve the peace must take a gradual process to be solved.
Sorry, I didn't get that line.
For us to achieve this perpetual peace is a gradual process.
Of course.
Now, let us use the time frame when he propounded this theory. Now, with the time, the date, the year, this theory we are propounded to this current date, do you think that with this theory he has already established both the ethics of warfare and the constitution that is guiding the United Nations and the whole agencies, the whole body is established? Do you think that there is a strong progress in achieving perpetual peace? If yes, what happens in the rules of engagement where it were clearly stated here about combatant to combatant? And what we are seeing in the world today is combatant to civilian, both in the European and everywhere. Now, what I mean by this, the rules of engagement, it's stated there. Now, when Russia launched
different situation now.
How is it a separate
You mention it, but don't generalize it.
If today, in the current day, if there is a war broke out, believe me, it's going to affect any civilian.
But not intentional most times.
But it is clearly stated here, and nobody is observing it.
No, I mean,
So there is no
people are not observing it. It's observed.
With what I'm seeing here, nobody is observing it. Since
What have you seen?
okay,
Itemize it.
Okay, first, war in Myanmar, you see it affect the citizens. War, when there was a Biafra,
this is follow the United Nations regulation.
But the world is meant. The world is meant. Are they not among the United Nations? Since that
when they are sent to ICC, after you must have finished clearing their paper, they will just catch you to ICC.
Okay, now,
Including
if Myanmar are not following the rules of United Nations,
why they are being followed after the war is because they have disobeyed this standard.
Is there any sanction? Was there any sanction on them?
Most of them have been in trouble.
Now, well, let me refer to the country. When there was a Biafra civil war, was there combatant to combatant or combatant to civilian?
Which one do you think?
Is a combatant to civilian.
And then what happened?
And there is no sanction on that.
How do you know? And even the apologies rendered
there is no acceptable apology. I'm following the status quo of the body of this.
Identify the people doing it, they are the ones not following it.
So
that has supported them to follow that.
Now, if they are not following, which means there is no existence of rule of law in the United Nations body.
There is, and they always looking for it.
Because
look at Chancellor, Liberia, whatever. Chancellor, the most important is once they get the information, once they get the report, because the report might be known to you, but not known officially to them.
In modern day today, what we are seeing here is combatant to civilian.
Don't generalize.
It's a general view altogether. There's something you say here that it takes carefulness. Yes, because you can never launch any weapon of mass destruction without affecting any civilian. It is impossible.
But it's not intended.
So why should they include this, that combatant to combatant?
This is a vision supported by Immanuel Kant, which may have been part of the United Nations Charter, trying to suggest, and they have been implementing it.
It's not in progress now. Prof, I don't know why you just carry this thing personal. I ask you a question. The question is not left for you now. Why are you answering the question?
Okay.
No, now you are. Please, Chief. This kid, did you bribe Professor to defend you on?
So I got your.
You are defending him. You are just answering everything.
So I got your two questions, and I'm. Yeah. I understand. He's trying to make sure you don't commit the fallacy of generalization.
Exactly.
When you come and say what's happening in the world, what's happening in Europe, what is happening? So you have to actually pinpoint so that. But no, you have dropped your question. I'm answering it already. I'm answering your question already.
But the United Nations has condemned it. That's what we are trying to let you. They are doing what they can.
Sanction there.
Yes.
Because why I'm saying this is that all these things is being established only at the side of the developing countries. If it comes to the people that is in power, it's not effective.
Yeah, because you tell your people to be human.
No, once there is existence of rule of law. No, once there is existence of law in the state, there should be equality before the law.
Of course, now.
So if there is no equality before the law,
killing themselves, what do you expect any other person to do?
Who do you think that is instigating the killings?
Okay, so I got two things from your question.
Okay.
One is you are considering the time frame.
Yes.
When he wrote all these things.
Yes.
And suggested things we can use as articles, both preliminary and definitive towards the achievement of perpetual peace. So the answer here is very simple. When he propounded it, that's all right. But there's no timeline that after 200 years or 500 years, you must apply everything he has said and achieve it. When they say it's work in progress, even for us that are believers in Christ, our pursuit of righteousness is a continuum. It's not, you will not say, oh, let me be a Christian for 10 years, then achieve it. And that's all. It continues. And then don't forget when they told you that from the first lecture of Professor Immanuel Kant, that conflict is as old as man, and so it's going to remain as a phenomenon as long as man is also close to another man. I'm trying to paraphrase. There will always be conflict. So there's no timeline. The only thing is we keep revisiting these things. If the generation past have failed, me and you, can we actually pick it up and actually look for the line to maintain, if not for anything, for the respect for each other? Let me also say to you, for the respect for Prof's class itself, like if you say respect is what will bring peace, and then relationship, making it good between one another, then to international relation. How far and how well have we been respecting it? Respect for laws. Yeah, if they say when you come into here and you stay for this term and the next semester, these are things you must do. Meeting up, clearing your academic records, keeping them clean, and also financial record. We'll keep them that way. This will also keep respect. So that otherwise, when something happens tomorrow and then they say, oh, Nigerians came into Thailand and they were studying in Siam University and then suddenly Siam University decided to delist all of them from their list of students. Hence, they did not get visa extension again, and hence they've been arrested, and hence they are being deported. Internationally, someone might hear it outside and say, oh, maybe because they are blacks, maybe because they are Nigerian. That is wickedness. Yeah, they don't like us. But on the side of the law, which Immanuel Kant also talked about, have we kept the laws that even if we go into another land, we should know that he also highlighted the importance of the rule of law, including when you go into a school, what is the law governing the schools? What are the regulations? So that one keeps it aside. Then the other one about the law, yeah, I'm already in it talking about it, but let me touch it the way I'm supposed to, the way I want to touch it. Because he has actually outlined all these things, and there are laws. He has referred it to the international laws, ICC, ICJ, UN, and the rest. That if it's not being followed, and if at this time these achievements are not being applied, that it seems, you mentioned that it seems there's no rule of law. No, there is. So I'll leave the answer with this, or the question with this. Laws are meant for humans. Laws are meant to be imposed by humans too. These same laws are being broken by humans. So it also takes other humans to also enforce this same law, to also enforce the law. So generally, it revolves on us, the human being. What are we doing? Oh, we know this law exists. We still break them. When we break them, it's still human being that will bring it back to us. Just like some few weeks ago in Philippines, if you think this law doesn't exist, I want to use this one to just tell you that they still exist. One of the leaders of in Philippines, his name is former President Rodrigo. He was arrested on 11th of March at Manila. And then for what reason? Criminally responsible for widespread and systematic attack on civilians, including extrajudicial killings during his tenure and all that. Yeah, he was not arrested immediately. But just of recent, 11th March 2025, just this year, is fresh. He was still arrested following ICC and then what they call it before they arrest someone, warrant and the rest. So it's not something that is achieved in one day. It goes from time to time. Some of these things have reviews. Some of them have to be reviewed back to back, page by page, systematically. And then when they get to their turn, we want to believe that it happens. If they can do this here, if leaders in the past we know, both in Africa and outside, even in Asia here, are still being followed, we want to believe that it will happen it will get to a time that the writing is completely done. But generally, in our own time, and as we are growing, what mentality will we grow in? Is it to adopt some of these good articles that we've been given, or to still go back to the one that we think is a shortcut and that is more beneficial at the short term? Thank you. Let me leave this. I'll leave it here.
Okay, so first of all, let me ask you, Emmanuel. Thailand, Nigeria and Thailand, which one is better for you? With your experience so far.
Um, with my own experience,
It's just a simple question. Nigeria and Thailand.
Thailand.
I'm not talking about home as a home, but in terms of opportunities. Thailand.
Yeah.
Okay. In your own imagination, Thailand and Germany, which one will be? Do you think will be better? Even though you have not been there, but in your own imagination, or any part of Europe.
I think Germany will be better.
Huh?
I think Germany.
Okay. Let me not go further, but let me use this to answer your question.
Okay.
To understand that the fact this is being implemented, and that is why in some European countries that people are respected. Even here in Thailand, you take a certain passport, they consider the country. Because one thing you do to America, American embassy will come and blah, 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 they will even deal with you. Or you do to UK, or you do to Europeans, because of all this. Because they have made themselves, their government are not there for ego trip. They are not there for their own pocket, even though the pocket will be there. But they only consider their people. Even this Thailand, you see, this Thailand that you know that you and I from Nigeria we are better than in terms of economy. But you know very well that our politicians will use the money for their own interest. It's not that it's not done here. It's possible that it's also done here by what I've read in the newspaper. But they still consider their people to a large extent. The same thing is applicable in Europe. So that is where this thing is being implemented. Not necessarily waiting for United Nations, but different countries, you vote people to power. They consider that voting to them to power is authority you have given to them. Therefore, they have to satisfy you to protect your life, protect your property, and protect your freedom. But then, put it in the other way to Africa. It's not that you rarely see that. And that's why when most of us from Africa tend to ask certain questions, we ask it based on our own experience. And that our experience is not the yardstick. It's not a yardstick because you and I know very well that the experience we are coming from is distorted. For example, you are here now suffering to pay your school fees, but a German student will be here. The government will send in him or her school fees. For most Europeans you see around, they are just here for some of them for one semester. And the government will be taking care of that. But you are here suffering to pay for your own. You see that? So if we understand it in that way, that's why I recently started traveling around to add to my experience as well. And I must tell you, once you live here, go to those places, you see what is governance and what is government, frankly speaking. It's not about the leader. It's about the people. And that's why even after sometimes they use motorbike to go to work, the prime minister. You use bicycle to go to work, a prime minister, without anything, because it's not his work or her work. It's the people. The office belongs to the people. And once the person leaves the office, you see him taking his motorbike and his dog, going home. When you get to experience this, you add it to your own, then all of us will understand that actually something is wrong somewhere. But I will now add that one of the reasons is probably because they think they are smarter, they are using that smartness to deal with some of us, our leaders, who keep misleading us, because that misleading is feeding on them positively. Those of them that we are talking about. So it's a game of who is smarter in the world. That is what I think. Hello? Does he enter?
Yes, sir.
Any contribution, any other thing? Okay, thank you very much. And at this juncture, we will try to end the class. Let's hope those who will listen and watch this class will understand better and make their comments. This is a class on theory of peace, theory of conflicts, and theory of security in Siam University, Thailand. Thank you very much.